Welcome to Moms in the Wild with Kate
and Caro,
where we laugh at our wild moments to make you feel better about yours. Hi friends, welcome back.
Hi.
Hello.
We are here. Kate.
Yes.
Tell me about your wild mom moment of the week.
I have a doozy for you today.
I am excited.
So, I'm out with my sweet son grocery shopping, which we do all the time.
Every day, maybe. We don't know.
And I look down and I see on one of his arms, he is starting to get these red spots.
What a fun experience. You know what? I don't like anything better than looking down and seeing a medical emergency. Super fun. Continue.
Super fun. So he's in the cart, he's strapped in the front seat. And so I think, okay, maybe he's been leaning on the cart in a weird way. I tracked it, but now we're just going to keep going on.
We note it.
We have
a
job to do.
Yes, exactly. We're on a mission, but we note the potential terror.
Yes. So we're keeping going, and about 30 seconds later, I look down, and his other arm is now covered in red spots.
Not reassuring.
And that is when I begin to panic.
Oh, yes.
So in the middle of the grocery store, I rip his shirt off, and I start looking at his front and his back and his stomach, and I don't see anything. So I'm like, all right, this is weird, but I have like 2 more things on my list to get. So and I have a full cart. This isn't like a quick fruit run, right? A quick fruit and milk run. No. This is a full-on like meals for the week trip.
I'm picturing myself as an onlooker pre being a parent and post being a parent, and I can feel the 2 different reactions. Yes. And I'm so excited for everyone that was in the store with you that doesn't have kids and was like, why is she undressing her toddler in the grocery store? And everyone that was a parent that politely just went, that seems normal, and just continued to go on with their day. And so did you.
Yes.
You said, we're on a mission still.
We're almost done.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You're breathing. You're responding. You know what?
Everything's great.
Good. Yeah.
He has a lollipop.
Yeah.
Because I'm that kind of mom. As soon as we get in the cart, we're getting
You're
a
like,
lollipop.
Maybe an ant bit you several times.
Right.
Whatever.
Maybe when you were sleeping last night, there was a little spider that was nibbling on you.
Yeah, sure.
We'll deal with it when we get home.
100%.
So as we're checking out, I look at him, and now I'm seeing red spots on his neck.
Ooh, bummer. That's not...
And I am now in a full panic. Yeah. I have never thrown my credit card at someone as fast as I did.
Anything that takes place above the shoulders, that's an emergency.
It's scary, yeah.
Right? When it starts to go to the neck, the face, and the head, then we're,
So we are at Aldi, which is a bag your own groceries type of place.
That's also a bummer.
So I am just throwing things in my cart as quick as I can, looking at him, monitoring his breathing, making sure his chest is still going up and down. He is fine. By the way, I am in a full panic. My Apple Watch is like, high heart rate. And I'm like, yes, of course.
And you're like, my kid has hives, Apple Watch. My kid has code red. Call 911.
Send emergency services.
Call 911 immediately, Apple Watch. What the fuck are you good for, Apple Watch?
So, our house was in between the grocery store and the urgent care. So I immediately knew we were going to urgent care because number 1, I'm a nervous person. And number 2, he's turning into the spotted man in front of my eyes. I'm getting very, very scared.
Absolutely.
And I have a lot of allergies. I have food allergies. I carry an EpiPen, so I don't know what I've passed down to him. What poor luck this unfortunate soul received.
Beautiful baby boy.
So I go home. I throw literal bags of groceries into the fridge. I don't take anything out. I leave the rest of the dry goods on the floor and just tell the dog to stay away.
You're like, don't get into this. There's a clear medical emergency. Get out of here.
I get him back in the car, and we drive straight to urgent care. By this point, he has hives on his inner thighs, his calves, and in his diaper area.
Yeah.
And I'm freaking out.
Oh, definitely.
I called my husband, who's at work, just poor guy, sitting there on his laptop, making an honest income for our family.
The most mundane day ever, I'm sure.
And I am like, I'm taking the kid to the urgent care. And he's like, what? Like, I can't talk. I'll tell you later. So he's like, oh my God.
He's like, oh, maybe he's dead or maybe he's fine.
He is used to this because he's a patient soul and I am a crazy person. And I have been since we got together.
So he was like, typical Thursday.
Yes.
Just a casual Thursday afternoon in our house.
So I get to urgent care and they're checking me in and they're taking forever. It's a Monday at 11 a.m. So they have no one there. And she's, taking my intake. And I'm like, hello. As we were talking, my child is getting more spots.
Yeah, it's urgent care. I came in with an urgent matter. So let's all act accordingly.
This is not a mild,
don't do an intake,
check-in.
quote unquote. Just bring him back to wherever he needs to go.
I'm like, she's like, why are you here? And I was like, look at him. Yeah. This is what you could see. Like,
you pull his shirt up there.
Full body hives.
Look at him.
So we get checked in, we get into the room, and the doctor comes in, and she's like, oh yeah, it's just hives, just contact dermatitis. And I'm like...
That is the worst response you can ever hear from a healthcare provider that starts with, it's just.
Yeah.
Nothing has made anyone feel more like an asshole than a healthcare provider, even if it's a vet. Yes. Like, if a vet, a pediatrician, a doctor going, it's just blank. Thank you. I feel good about my choice to come in today. Awesome.
So I'm like, okay. She's like, it's probably something that was on the cart that was touching his skin because it's only where the cart was. I'm like, okay, that seems kind of weird. Anyways, she tells us to give him Benadryl every 6 to 8 hours. Sure. It was fine. He was great. His breathing was never affected. The hives stayed and actually got worse, which I ended up taking him to another urgent care.
Yeah.
To get a second opinion, who told me that it was something that he had eaten or drank. It was not contact dermatitis.
Which I think makes more sense because the contact dermatitis on his chest would have been odd if he was in a carriage. You know what I mean? Unless he took a header down on the carriage, then probably not contact dermatitis.
Yeah, and in his diaper area, he was clothed.
That's true, because he had clothes on and a diaper on. Yeah.
It was weird. So they ended up telling me...
Lazy. That's a lazy urgent care physician.
Right? We're not going back.
Contact dermatitis. No.
So we ended up going to get a second opinion the next day because they did get worse.
Yeah.
Which I didn't sleep at all, because I was just watching him on the monitor.
And which you taught me can happen with hives.
Yes.
Which I didn't know. That sometimes that allergic reaction will continue to happen and it'll get worse before it gets
And they told
better.
me that they could last for 2 weeks.
That's not something I would have been okay with.
No. So I figured it out. I think it was he had an orange juice for the first time. Which I don't think he'd had before. Something and a good amount of it. 2 small cups of it with breakfast. So I think that was it. But yeah, it was wild. It
Absolutely
was
wild.
Scary.
Yeah.
As a nervous person who has a lot of my own health and medical trauma, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But I did it. You
made it through.
We went to 2 urgent care places. We spent a lot of time waiting, but I don't regret a minute of it.
Nope.
I don't regret getting the second opinion because it gave me a lot of clarity. But yeah, they are just little tiny medical time bombs sometimes.
Anomalies, really.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially, like you said, you have allergies, which I think, too, plays a lot into that. We should get this checked out, immediately. Because how far do we let an allergic reaction go?
I mean...
And you made it. Like you said, you did it.
Yes.
And no time wasted. If you brought your kid to an urgent care and they've looked at you and gone, this child's fine, more power to you.
You made the right choice.
You made the right choice.
Yes.
Best case scenario, you go to an urgent care and they look at you and say, guess what? Your child's fine. I love that information.
Oh, yeah.
I live to be looked at by a medical professional and have them go, good job on you.
Yes.
Healthy baby. I feel good about that.
Amen. That's the takeaway here.
Yeah.
Is I think we have these thoughts as moms and as parents that just kind of they nag us in situations like that. And I think following that and trusting it is really important. And even if you go and they say everything's fine, like you said, that's
excellent.
Exactly what I wanted to hear.
Excellent. Thank you for confirming, or thank you for helping my underlying anxiety.
Yes.
To know everything's okay. And I hope this isn't oversharing, and if it is, we can absolutely take it out. Yeah. But I remember texting you and you saying, I'm trying to differentiate, I'm paraphrasing, but differentiate between I'm an anxious person, am I being anxious, and he's having these hives that aren't going away.
Yes.
So did you feel better with this plan of care and
yes.
everything that happened at the second follow-up visit?
100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, there wasn't a huge change in medical situation for him, but you knew how to move forward and you knew that everything that you were doing was right.
Yeah.
And I think that confirmation is so worthy of going and getting it checked 100%, out.
Yes. And talking to David when I was in between, do I take him back to a different place to get a second opinion? Because all this time our doctor's office couldn't fit us in, which is a whole other thing.
Oh, I hate
which
that.
we are definitely switching pediatricians after this experience, because who can't make time for a sick kid?
A kid that's like getting hives. I have a ton of allergies as a parent.
Yes.
Please help. I'm very scared. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I said on the phone, I am scared to the nurse, and she was like, we don't have any appointments.
Woof. That's not a great response.
But what was really great.
Well, find one.
And what David and I have learned about my anxious personality and being parents of a toddler who he's going to get things that happen that are way worse than anything we've experienced.
Absolutely.
And what's helpful for me is and what David does a really good job of prioritizing is my mental health. And he's like, even if David doesn't think that we have to go get checked sometimes, he knows that the getting checked is going to help my mental health. And to him, my mental health is like priority.
What a good support person.
So helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So helpful and so validating. So I remember that day he was like, yes, just go. Who cares? And we went, and guess what? It was 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
So,
and you don't have to sit and wait and wonder, is everything okay? You know, you just get that response because whatever the first doctor told you was what it was, but then to see something progress and get worse and not have had that physician tell you, like, this is going to maybe get significantly worse, go for that second opinion.
Right.
Because why wait? Why wait till it's like we're driving in an ambulance to the ER?
Oh, 1,000, yes.
And it's especially that's where my head tends to go too sometimes is like, how bad do I let it get?
Yeah.
Do I wait till I'm like, oh, you got to go to the ER now because your eyes are rolling shut? No, let's go to that urgent care and kind of get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
Especially if your pediatrician won't see you, in my opinion.
Right. So that was my first, I would say urgent medical situation with my kid.
Oh, definitely.
So great timing for this.
And it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, oof.
What a great timing for this segment.
Yeah. Wild mom moment.
As it was happening, I actually remember thinking, what? This is great. I'm going to talk about this.
You know what? I'm going to let this air. I'm going to let this go on the pod.
So what was yours? Tell me about your wild mom moment.
I don't have a wild, which is shocking, I know. I can't think of a wild mom moment of this specific week, so I'm going to harken back to a previous wild mom moment.
Love it.
So I would say that Birdie was probably 4 months old, because that's when I think my mother-in-law began taking care or helping to take care of her. I'm saying it as if I gave her to and then I gave her to my mother-in-law to care for. No, I think that's when my mother-in-law started providing childcare. And so I also think that because I'm thinking 4 months sleep regression, I'm not sleeping, I'm just doing the best I can, I'm a walking zombie, and also my baby is doing the best she can to be in this world and just survive and live. So all of these factors. I also am a nursing mom.
Right.
And so if you've ever seen any nursing outfit, they're just not excellent.
They're horrific in their structure.
They haven't been sorted yet. So basically, a lot of my clothing is the deepest V.
Yes.
Like J-Lo-esque V. Just right down. And then it has a cloth flap over that deep V to cover your boobs that are obviously exposed.
# modesty.
Yeah. Let's cover these suckers up as we're putting again, very deep V. So I'm wearing a nursing dress as I'm getting my baby ready for the day in the morning, and I'm kind of shifting information to my mother-in-law. I'm changing the baby's diaper, telling my mother-in-law what time she needs to eat breakfast at, how she's been doing, da-da-da-da. And then I go to get ready for my day, and I realize that my nipple is out. So the question always is, did she not notice my nipple was out? Or is she so kind, compassionate, and caring, she was like, she doesn't need this. She obviously hasn't slept. The baby has kept her up. Her nipple's at her waistline at this point in her life. I don't need to tell her nipple's out. So it could be one or the other, but a full conversation happened and my nipple was out.
I'm going to tell you right now, it was definitely option 2.
Oh, 100%. And at that point, Joe, I was so desensitized, I didn't address it either. I'm so used to the nips being out now that it doesn't matter where when it happens.
Right.
Because she's now 10 months old. Especially now, it's even worse. Just the nipples out whenever.
And no one should care. I do understand the weirdness of it being your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And your mother-in-law is such a sweet person.
Such a sweet person. And very modest.
Yes.
So a nipple to me is that's intense. Yeah, that's an intense moment. But, sometimes you need a nip slip, right?
A nip slip brings everyone closer.
It does bring everyone closer.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a wild mom moment, right?
Yes.
Nip slip.
And
mom's gone wild moment. That's what I'm going to say. I had a mom's gone wild moment. Just show the nips.
And as a former mom in the wild, she just knew to let it roll.
Yeah. She was like, nipples come out sometimes. And I was like, yeah, we're going to ignore this so politely.
Help me preserve the shred of dignity that I am clinging on to.
Yeah. What a kind thing to do. She was like, you are suffering, and I understand that, and I'm not going to ask you to put your nipple away. I'm just going to let it be out.
Tracy, you're the real MVP.
Thank you. You are. Yeah. No gesturing, no like, honey, your nipple's just poking out right now. You know what it is, too? Like, when breastfeeding the babe, there's only boob, right? Which somehow some people still get offended by. And if you're one of those people, I don't know what to tell you, but just, it's the way someone's feeding their baby, and that's going to happen. It's the nipple that really freaks the people out, right? So if you only have a nipple, when I say, if my whole tit was out, I would have known. It was literally just a nipple. What a weird part of the boob to see. Not a baby's mouth. Like I wasn't nursing the baby while having this conversation. It was purely only nipple.
I love it.
Yeah.
Everyone has been there.
Everyone's been there. Everyone's done it.
And if you haven't, like, you can appreciate it.
Oh, you can appreciate that.
And so
moment
now
of nudity.
I know when I see a nipple of a breastfeeding mom, I'm just going to let her ride.
Let
her
ride.
live her life.
Yeah.
If it's an accident, if it's on purpose, I don't know. It's not my place to know.
No. Even a not breastfeeding mom, a nipple in the wild, just let it go. Just let it go. Whatever. We don't need to be in judgment of other people and the skin they're going to show off.
We have bigger problems.
We have way bigger problems. We have hives.
We have hives to deal with.
Hives to deal with. I don't care.
You know what I'd rather see than hives? Nipples.
A nipple. 100%. 100%. Much rather.
On that note.
What else are we doing today, Kate?
Today is exciting.
I know. I'm excited for it.
So today we are going to talk about our pregnancy stories, which I think is just more of a pregnancy recap. Kind of talking about, when we were pregnant with our children and, what made us into moms. And then we are having our first ever Please Stop segment.
Please stop.
Which is just going to be an exploration of the things that we went through while we were pregnant that we loved and we hated.
Yeah.
That's it.
And we hope that some people can relate to
and
the
laugh.
Stories and the things that happened that were really gross and weird.
Yeah.
And the things that happened that we were like, do that again for the rest of my life.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
Let's get some highs and lows.
Tell us a little bit about when you were pregnant.
When I was pregnant. Disclaimer a little bit. These are about to be some women that enjoyed their pregnancies, everyone.
Yeah.
We have fantastic pregnancy stories. So listen on if you just want to be uplifted in your pregnancy, or I don't know. It's just really, it was a really good time. And
for the most part, same. Yeah, for me. I will say, pregnancy was wonderful for me, and I do miss it.
So good.
Yeah.
So let's hit that. We'll hit the hot takes of our pregnancies. So I'm trying to I did not find out I was pregnant until I was 8 weeks, or right at 9 weeks pregnant.
Unbelievable to me.
Which is insane. So that goes to show, too, I breezed through first trimester. I was deep into it.
Your business as usual.
Business as usual. Was into it. So we didn't, we were trying to have a baby at a specific time of the year because we live in the United States and we were trying to work with maternity leave and paid time off and all of that. And good for us, United States of America, and hating moms and pregnant people and people that give birth.
Amen.
Anyway, little soapbox. So anyway, we were aiming for a very specific time of the year. We were this is our last month trying. If we don't get pregnant, I had taken a home pregnancy test. It had come back as not being pregnant. I had also taken pregnancy tests at my gynecologist's office, which is wild, and a pregnancy test at another doctor's office, and all of them came back as not being pregnant. Apparently, I was just a little bit too early for my hormone. What's the hormone's name?
Your HCG.
Thank you. For my HCG levels to be high enough to
register
the pregnancy, which my gyno or the OB later told me can happen to people.
Oh, yeah.
If you test a little bit too early, then that's what you're going to get. You get a bunch of negatives. So anyway, I get all these negatives. And so, we're not pregnant. We decide to delay for another year so that we're having our baby right at the right time. Wonderful. And we're sitting one night and my beautiful, beautiful significant other is like, your nails are very long, which is rare for you. And I was like, yeah, I'm a baller. My nails are really long. And he was like, and also your hair is he's just showering me in compliments. Ooh. And I'm like, I'm a beautiful glowing goddess.
And you're
in
are
that
you
moment,
trying to get laid?
Yeah. He's DTF. And I'm just I'm beautiful. And in that moment, everything he was saying to me fully hit me. And I went, oh Lord. And I went and I peed on a stick. And your girl was pregnant. What a wild What a wild situation. So what was awesome about that is I had no physical symptoms. I had no physical symptoms of pregnancy. What I did have was a lot of emotional symptoms of pregnancy. So my hormones were wild. And my therapist at that time, my hormones were so wild that my therapist at that time was like, what if we gave you some medicine to try to taper whatever's happening to your mood off? So it was very relieving to find out I am pregnant for multiple reasons. It was exciting because I was pregnant, and also to be like, oh, I'm not, really, really going through it emotionally. I just have some hormones that are different than my body's used to.
Right.
And so I'm pregnant. So I would say in the first trimester, that was really my only symptom of pregnancy, was that my mood was like very shifty.
Yes.
Then you enter, or at least I entered, a golden stage of pregnancy that we love to call the second trimester.
The second trimester is bliss.
It is such a beautiful, wonderful time in your life. I felt like a superhuman. I thought I was queen of the world, an actual goddess, and I kind of was.
You were.
I kind of was. So I felt like a badass. I wasn't tired. You're a little fatigued, or at least I was a little fatigued in the first trimester. My mood kind of regulated. I had some delicious pregnancy cravings. I was like straight up eating lemons.
Oh, yeah.
I was being a wild child. I loved it. You can start to feel, or I could start to feel the baby a little bit. I had an anterior placenta, so no one else could feel the baby. I could only feel the baby. Just wonderful, beautiful.
Much to I'm sure Chris's dismay, but especially mine. All I wanted was to feel that.
And you couldn't.
Dang baby.
I'm trying to even think. Like,
I couldn't feel her at all.
Hella pregnant.
I never felt
Chris could feel a good kick.
Yeah.
Like, she was probably like 3 weeks from being born.
Yeah.
Before like a little like
I saw you
happened.
the week before she was born, and I still didn't feel her.
No, definitely not. Internally, there's a little roller coaster, which is, I loved being able to feel, because I also tend to be a little bit more on the anxious side, and you have no knowing of what's happening, kind of, and then once you can feel the baby, I at least liked it a lot. I remember the first time feeling the baby move, where it's that butterfly feeling.
Yeah.
I was on a plane when that happened, and I had 2 men sitting on either side of me, and when I felt it happen, I went like, and they both looked at me because it was loud. And I was like, I felt... Mind you, also, I didn't look super pregnant at this time.
Right.
Like, I looked, like and I just looked at both of them, and I was like, my baby moved. And they're like, great. All right. We don't care at all. So second trimester, beautiful, wonderful time. And then third trimester rolled around, and I've reverted kind of back to a lot of the first trimester things, feeling tired again. My mood was like a little bit. In my third trimester, I cried because I didn't know what I wanted to eat. That definitely happened in third trimester. That was a huge part. I also cried about the coconut shrimp thing. I was eating coconut shrimp and started crying, and Chris was like, what's going on? And I was like, my dad loves coconut shrimp, and one day he'll die. And I will eat coconut shrimp over my dad. So that all that stuff happened in third trimester. I really loved being pregnant. The whole, like, even with those like funny little things, like quirky things that happened, I genuinely loved being pregnant. I felt really good. I will say something that helped me a lot. I do have a herniated disc in my lower back. I went to physical therapy in my third trimester. So holla at the people that are out there pregnant with a herniated disc. Go to physical therapy. It's super helpful.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I really liked it. Tell me about what was your pregnancy like?
So, kind of similar. I have a thyroid autoimmune disorder. So, when David and I got married, I went off birth control and realized I wasn't getting my periods for a long time. And so, that kind of stopped us because we didn't get married until we felt like we were ready to have kids.
Sure.
So, our plan was to get married and then immediately start trying. So that pushed us back about a year of kind of just waiting till I got regulated, got on all the right medicines. So we were trying, it was our 3rd month of trying. And I remember that month thinking, like, there is no way I'm pregnant. Like, I felt sick. I was just like, I felt like my period was coming for like days. And I was like, ugh, I don't even want to take a test. Like, this is stupid, And David's like, just because I had taken 2 before.
Yeah.
And now being in where we are, we've been dealing with infertility for 2 years. So saying this now, as people who are listening who have been trying, who have been dealing with, or have dealt with infertility, I know how stupid this is about to sound personally. But, like, having those 2 months where I thought I was pregnant and then I hadn't, at the 3rd month I was like, I don't want to do it again.
Absolutely.
So he convinced me to, and I took a test, and it was positive. And it was the best moment ever. I remember
so excited.
I had shut the door because I needed some privacy. I wanted to kind of just take it in. If it was going to happen, if it wasn't going to happen, I wanted that time to just, like, be angry for a second by myself. But I remember walking out, and I didn't even wait. Like, I you're supposed to use your first morning pee, as you know, and I woke up at 5 a.m. So I just woke him up.
You were like, look at this!
And I was like, oh my God. I remember walking out and I looked at it and I showed him this test and I was like, you're going to be a dad. And
That's
just
so
cried.
exciting.
My first trimester, I was very sick. I never like threw up, which is great, but I was consistently just nauseous for the first 14 weeks. And nauseous to the point where like I really couldn't eat anything, which works out because the baby doesn't get anything from you.
Oh no, absolutely
nutritionally, those first, that first trimester. So we weren't worried about that, but I did end up losing 20 pounds.
I also think it's such a misnomer that people call it morning sickness, because so many people I talk to that have nausea and illness have it consistently throughout the day during that first trimester.
It was all day, every day.
Yeah. And even if they don't get sick, it's just like continuous nausea.
And I would have, I would like dry heat. It was a whole thing, where I was working, I was working in the president's office of the university we were at, and I remember many a time where I would ask my friend who was his admin if he was in, so I didn't have to walk all the way down the like hallways to find a bathroom to dry heave in. So there was a lot of times I was in the president's personal bathroom just dry heaving.
Absolutely.
Which she was such a sweet angel for letting me do that.
Like, I need this. I'm so sorry. If you make me walk down the hall, it'll be real vomit.
That's so actually how everyone found out at work I was pregnant before I was even ready to, because I was so sick. Yeah. And we worked in an open office environment. So like the first time I like accidentally dry heaved in public, people were like, are you?
And you're like, it's not a hangover. I have a gnarly hangover right now. So sorry.
So first trimester was rough, and I swear the day I turned 14 weeks.
Oh yeah,
it was done.
It's so
I was in that beautiful like second. I loved when my belly popped. Yeah. I loved when I could wear maternity shirts and show it off. And I can honestly sit here and say I've never felt more beautiful than when I was pregnant.
Same.
I felt so comfortable in my skin. I felt, I've struggled with my body image for years, and because my thyroid condition made me gain a bunch of weight when I was in, after college. Mm-hmm. And I've never felt more sexy, more beautiful. I had like all this gorgeous hormones going through me. Yeah. I wanted to have sex all the time.
And you're literally glowing. Oh, so, yeah. So, like, your sex drive is super high. Yes. And you're just a glowing goddess.
Yes.
And if you don't feel like that, that's fine too. We were so lucky that both of us have just felt incredible during pregnancy. Definitely second trimester, and just incredible during second trimester.
Yeah. And then, like you said, the cravings. I worked right downstairs from an ice cream shop, and I became a regular in my third trimester, to where I would I am the office. And if anyone from my office is listening right now, when I worked, they're going to be cracking up, because I am a group I am and be like, ice cream at every day at 3 p.m.
And they probably waited. They were like, oh, I kind of want a sweet, but I know Kate will eventually go over to get ice cream.
So I had one friend who was nursing, so I knew I had her every day with me at least. So it was never just me by myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was really great. And the baby moving is one of the best things in the world. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, I miss it still, and sometimes I feel like I have phantom.
Oh, same. Absolutely.
Pains or feelings where I feel like I'm feeling it again. But it was really wonderful, and I do miss it all the time. And sometimes I remember looking at him when he was first born and being like, oh, I wish you were back in.
Same.
And it wasn't during just the hard part.
No.
It was just looking at him and being in awe that he was in my body for so long.
Yeah.
But then also just being like, oh, I wish you would just go back in for a little bit.
Yeah. I remember I honestly felt, because they are such a part of your body for so long, a part of your body for such a long time, that it felt so odd to have others hold and touch her. Yeah. Because, and the only way I described it to Chris one time is it's as if my leg was taken off my body and I can still feel it. I have those phantoms feelings of a leg, but I'm watching someone else nurture and hold and love on it. And it's a weird, I know and acknowledge she's a living, breathing human creature that's in the world now. However, it's still, she just was a part of my body.
Oh, yeah.
Weeks ago, she was just a part of my body.
Yes.
And so it's such a wild. I do want to know, I don't want to interrupt your pregnancy story,
no,
but I do want to know your, I love to know, what were the cravings? What were your, aside from ice cream, what were the specific cravings that you
I went through 3 phases. So my first trimester was, like you said, lemons, acidic. I wanted just full on lemon juice.
Yeah.
My second trimester, I was all about the sugar cereal.
Yeah.
I mean, give it all. I wanted Captain Crunch, Reese's Puffs,
Whatever you have.
Lucky Charms.
I want it.
Like Frosted Flakes. Every different, like, 2 days, I
Yeah.
would go to the store and pick just a new one. And like milk. I'd never been a milk drinker, and I just wanted all of the milk. And then 3rd trimester was just like ice cream, cake, milk.
Sweets.
Yeah. I was a real sweets
Yeah.
type of pregnancy, and I gained every one of those 20 pounds back.
You had a good starting point, though. I just gained and gained and gained. I had this weird inclination where I felt like I wasn't gaining weight fast enough, so I was just eating. I was like trying to hit a calorie marker. And so I gained weight very quickly, not realizing at the end of your pregnancy you gain so much weight so fast. So then by the time the end of my pregnancy came, I was like, oh, this is where the weight comes in. I'm such a dum-dum.
And I will say, I just took full advantage of being pregnant. I ate whenever I wanted.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I ate whatever I wanted.
Same.
Yeah. So, oh my God, I just took every time I could take advantage of it, I did.
And you should. I also realized I was pregnant. I don't know if you're the same way. I never understood what a craving was until I was pregnant. There were times before I was pregnant that I wanted a specific food, but I wasn't upset if I didn't get it.
Yeah.
It was just like that thing didn't happen. Pizza wasn't available. It wasn't near me. Where when I was pregnant, I needed it.
Yes.
It was I needed this thing now, and I would be upset if I did not get it.
Yes.
My cravings too were fast and furious. They were in and out.
Yeah.
You know, one day I'd be eating lemons, and my beautiful, beautiful partner Chris would bring me home a bag of lemons the next day. I'd be like, "That's done, baby. We're done with lemon. We're done. Hope you find those lemons some water to put in, because I'm not having them." Just really fast and furious. And also things I don't eat now. I was dipping pickles in mustard at one point. I wouldn't dream of doing that now. I was drinking glasses of milk.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you just said, my 3rd trimester. I hadn't drinking a glass of milk since I'd been like 8 years old. And I could not get enough of just like whole milk. Even thinking about it now, I don't know how I would do it. But yeah, I just couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah. It was so fun.
It is. It's a super fun time. And
For us, I will say, like, I do not want
yeah.
to discredit anyone out there who is just going through it or have gone through it and just hated it, or like had parts that were really, really difficult. Like you said, we were super lucky that our pregnancies were healthy, uncomplicated,
and comfortable for us physically, comfortable for the babies physically. Like, we just really were so lucky to have the pregnancies that we had.
Right. And I will say, this is kind of bringing us into our first ever Please Stop segment, which is there were some uncomfortable moments that happened.
Please stop. Yes. I'm so
I love
excited.
it. So let's talk about some of the things that we personally experienced that we were like, please stop. Because
please stop.
when you become a pregnant person, something strange happens and people stop viewing you as your own person. You are now this
autonomy.
vessel.
You are the vessel of life, and you internally may feel like a beautiful, great goddess, but other people just see a baby when they're looking. So we are doing Please Stop.
Commenting on my pregnant body.
Yes.
Yes.
That's our first Please Stop.
Yeah, I wasn't a small person when I got pregnant, and I had a big pregnant belly. My child is very long, and he's still like in the 95th percentile for height.
Super tall. Looks way older than he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he was like that when I was pregnant, and so a lot of the comments I got were, I would tell people how far along I was, and they would be like, well, I don't think you're gonna make it, you're so big, or are you sure it's not 2 babies in there? And these are all things that, like, before I would think were like super stereotypical, but they were not. They happened. Yeah, I remember specifically at an appointment where I was getting my thyroid checked during pregnancy, and the phlebotomist looked at me and she was like, I was probably 6 months pregnant, and she said, "Oh, how far along are you?" And I said 24 weeks, and she looked at me and her eyes got as big as saucers, and she goes, "Whoa, you're gonna have a big baby," and it crushed me.
Just imagine. Listen, I know right now we're talking about pregnant bodies, but just imagine looking at someone in their skin, in their body, and basically going, "You're fat."
Yeah.
If you wouldn't do that to just anyone, don't then think you can do it to a pregnant person.
Yes.
Or going, "Oh, you're tiny." If you wouldn't say these comments to a person that wasn't pregnant, perhaps, just perhaps, don't say them to a pregnant person. Because that pregnant person is still a person with a body, and a lot of times rifling through, trying to find their way through a lot of body image issues, because we as females, we're not going to say males are protected from this, but as females have really had to figure out how to accept bodies of all shapes, sizes, looks, right? So yeah, just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you're not, you don't have feelings about that body. And like you said, you've been on a long journey to accept your body. So, and I agree with that. Same. I had been on such a long journey to accept my body, and your body changes so radically when you're pregnant that then those comments, it feels like you're like maybe backsliding or backstepping because those comments hit so hard.
Right.
And kind of can like hit home and be like, oh my gosh, I just feel like a huge person because that's what you're telling me.
Yeah, I definitely went in the car and cried. And that has to do with hormones, but it also is just like, dang it.
Don't say that to me.
Yeah. And I remember you telling me, people would tell you, oh, you don't look pregnant. Yeah, and that's hard to hear too.
Yeah. So people would just look at me and be like, you don't look pregnant. I can't believe. I think the mentality is that I would appreciate, or they thought I would receive that in appreciation of telling me I looked little while pregnant. But to me, I looked very pregnant and I felt very pregnant and I was feeling
You wanted it to be celebrated.
And I wanted to be celebrated. People just look at me in my face and be like, well, you don't look pregnant. I had a doctor when I was in my 3rd trimester. I was, again, when I had back pain and I went to a doctor and he looked at me and he went, well, you don't look pregnant. And I was at that point, I was about 8 months pregnant because I was doing my physical therapy. Yeah, I went, you don't look pregnant. And I went, okay, but I am, so I don't know what that means.
You invalidating son
I know, and how do you expect me to receive that? And also, again, like, would you just... And actually, I do think typically we tend to comment on bodies on the smaller side, which I also hate, because when people have commented on my body when it's gotten smaller, have only been in times when I've been like very physically ill, not mentally at my best, and I have shrunk in size because of those things, and people are very complimentary. So, something that you've said that I like is let it be person-led, where if someone looks at you and says, I've been really doing a lot to gain weight, or I've been really doing a lot to lose weight, then you then can come in and go, well, you look great. Right. Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you have to stop doing that. So whatever body they're in when they're pregnant, maybe just say, you look great. I hated the body comments when I was pregnant. It made me feel like, I don't know, it just made me feel vulnerable and on display all the time.
And you're already, like you said, you're already so vulnerable. And you're going through so many changes. Yeah. And especially when you're in your 3rd trimester. Look, I already knew how I looked. I looked like a freaking beluga whale at my 3rd trimester. I was swollen. Great. You are lying. It's very sweet.
I loved it. You know what? Loved it.
And looking back at pictures, I'm like, whoa, big mama. But, like, that was my right. My body was retaining water. I was getting ready for birth. It was beautiful. I felt beautiful. Yeah. And I didn't need or want people commenting on it. The only things that are acceptable to say to a pregnant woman are, you're glowing, you're beautiful, you're Mother Nature.
Or just, how do you feel? Just, how do you feel? Leave it at a question. How are you doing? If you're not going to shower them in compliments, the minimum you can do is just act like they're a person,
So those are our please stops for that part. Please stop commenting on
my pregnant body.
I'm already struggling.
I am. Just please stop commenting on my pregnant body.
And, like, as our partners knew during that time, there really is not a lot that's right to say.
No.
So I personally... when I see someone who I think may be pregnant, I err on the side of silence, and I really do just let that person kind of lead me in. Like you said, like, oh my gosh, don't I look huge? You look beautiful. That baby is growing.
Amazing. Yes.
Look at your body. Look at how powerful you are. It's amazing. You know? Or like, oh, I feel like I'm so small. You do look great for where you are. Like, I'd never guess you were 7 months. And people will say that to you because... this is not like a huge revelation, but like pregnant women like talking about their pregnancies for 100%. The most part.
100%. And also too, when people have said that to me, typically my response is just like, you look pregnant. Whether it's they're saying they're big or they're saying they're tiny, just say like, you look pregnant as you should. You are pregnant. You're growing human life. Good on you. Yes. You look exactly how you should look and your body should look while you are pregnant. People look similar to me while pregnant. People have looked similar to you while pregnant, but no one mirrors identically my body while they were pregnant, nor should they strive or do that. And in the same way that when I was pregnant, I wasn't striving for anything besides like get this baby out eventually at some point, right?
Yeah.
So just keep your comments in your pocket.
Yes.
Stop it. At least when it comes to me.
Yes. And in kind of the same vein, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but
No.
something that I wish I had done when I was pregnant is take pictures of my naked pregnant body.
Yeah.
I do not have one picture of my naked pregnant body, and I wish that I did.
I have only like 3, and it's when I was sending them to like Chris or, not to be weird, but my mom.
Yeah.
But like they're so few and far between, and a lot of them were only in that last trimester. I agree with you. I wish I had more of that naked pregnant body. Your body changes so drastically and significantly while you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And again, too, not to go on a tangent, but if you are someone who has struggled with body issues and you are pregnant, I think it's so normal to, especially if you're someone that struggled with body issues, got to a point where you're comfortable. Your body changes so much when you're pregnant. I think it's so normal to feel those struggles again and then to feel them again post birth as well. You know, it's a roller coaster ride. That's really normal to feel like that you are back starting at square one with body acceptance and this feeling of having even a neutral feeling towards your body, right?
And I don't even think
hard.
Yeah, I don't even think there's a normal way to do it, right?
No.
I think that if you feel like a beautiful glowing goddess, or if you feel like
Shit.
a fat cow,
Exactly,
who like sweats all the time and is dirty and stinky,
Yeah.
like I think all of that is normal.
Yeah.
It is such a spectrum, and it varies from person to person.
It absolutely does.
And you know, I had moments of both of that.
Yeah.
Luckily, like, I skewed towards the more, like, I'm a Mother Nature freaking goddess. Nobody
Yeah.
get in my way. But, like, there were moments where I was like, ew, I'm a fat cow. Please, nobody look at me, let alone comment on it.
Same.
Yeah.
And also to, like, talk about, like, my sex drive was really high. Yeah. And but the further I got into my pregnancy and the less comfortable I got with being larger for a spectrum of like a long history of having issues with my body image, and again being very complimented when I was a very small person, even when I was very sick, it was a struggle, you know. And sex, I think like for me my sex drive was high, but the feeling of actually having like penetration, like sex, was not as appealing as just like being sexual with my partner. And so, but a lot of that also ranged from just, again, that body image thing where you're like, what parts of me, there are so many parts of me that don't feel sexual that once did. Like my boobs did not feel sexual anymore when I was pregnant, for example. And, you know, you go through this whole range again of like, Chris never was like, you're a large person, ever. And he, you know, or like, you're a tiny person. He just was like, you're beautiful, you're you. But I very much felt that whole range of emotion. And you feel it in such a short period of time.
Yes.
It's the most my body had ever changed since puberty.
Yeah.
In the course of, 10 months.
Right.
And my body changed significantly in those, 10 months. I don't know if I don't think that's everyone's experience, but my body changed a lot in those 10 months. So riding those waves of, I can accept myself as I am, and I'm a sexual entity, and also I have a human inside me. It's a wild time.
Yes.
Mom's in the wild.
Mom's in the wild.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think, everyone's experience is different, and it's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have another please stop, or shall we switch into our please do's?
I don't think so. I think that was my biggest please stop commentary. My pregnant body is my biggest.
Same.
Yeah.
So let's switch into our pleases, or please do's.
Yeah.
And this kind of is like just piggybacking off of the please don't, which is, here's something I loved, and I'm going to admit this.
Do it.
I loved, capital Love, when people went the extra mile for me when I was pregnant.
Yes.
I felt like an A-list celebrity everywhere I went. And
Yeah.
I was here for it.
Yeah.
I loved the opening of doors. I loved the can I get you a snack? I loved the don't get up, I've got it. I loved, the please sit down, I'll stand up. And please God, if you're listening, don't think any less of me. But I think that when you're pregnant, you are just like craving people to acknowledge and celebrate your pregnancy. And like, it is so much fun when people do. For me. So that's a please do. Please do, when you see a pregnant person, open that door. Ask them if they need anything. I mean, I will guarantee no pregnant woman will ever not like asking if they need a snack.
Oh, no, 100%. I also, and this is why I love us, because this is where I veer slightly away from you, in that I knew I was pregnant, knew I was pregnant, liked when people brought it up. I did not like that when that was the only thing they brought up. So I liked the going the extra mile, but I also want to be like, I'm still a person. And it mostly happened in my workspace.
Right.
Where I was like, I don't need everyone bending over backwards. But the more pregnant I got, the more I liked it. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. So by the time I was like in my 3rd trimester, I didn't want to pick that box up.
No.
You pick that box up for me, please. With a smile on your face. Thank you. I can't do it.
It was one of the perks.
It was one of the perks. Yeah.
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 Here's another please do.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked, and this is not the same for everyone, but
Sure.
I really liked when people would ask me about my baby and my pregnancy and how I was doing.
Yeah.
Because we are similar in the fact, we've said this before, that we didn't know the sex of our babies before they were born. And I really liked when people would say, oh, what are you having? And I could say, actually, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun to hear like everyone's theories. The most interesting one that I heard was this woman said in her culture, it's kind of known that upon conception,
yes,
if the woman achieves orgasm,
climax,
you're having a boy. And if not, you're having a girl.
Wow.
So it's always like a very interesting follow-up conversation.
I love that.
So
if you falsehood, I did, and I have a girl.
See, which is interesting.
I'm the exception.
I have friends who it's the opposite, where they didn't, and it was a boy.
Oh, see.
So it was true for me. So yes, and a boy. But it was just, it's really so fun. And those are just fun conversations to have. And then fun little nuggets to pluck in the future. It's like a fun thing. And obviously if you're open with the person to be like, well, how was it? Do you remember the night you got pregnant?
Remember the night you conceived? I love that.
But I loved that. I love talking to people about the baby and what the baby was doing. And if I could feel the baby. Yeah. And then their wives' tales and yeah.
I liked people asking me about me first because I'm selfish. And that was great.
I think that's normal.
I did, again, I was very big on the I'm still a person. I was that pregnant person that was like, I'm still a person. I'm just now a pregnant person. I really liked either of them asking in tandem, how are you and the baby? When people just look at me like, how's the baby? I'd be like, hello, I'm here too. Thank you. So, and that again was just a me thing. I am all for pregnant people being treated like people first.
Right.
So I did like them to ask about me first. So yeah, one thing I liked, definitely a please do when I'm pregnant, is ask me how I'm doing. I'll tell you. I'll tell you how I'm doing.
Yeah. That's so funny. I think everything and nothing is normal and acceptable during pregnancy. Because every person is so different.
Yeah.
And each experience is different. You never know what the person who is pregnant has gone through. A lot of people only see a pregnant belly in front of you, and that kind of becomes the first thing that they acknowledge and then base their opinions on, especially if someone who doesn't know you very well or hasn't seen you in a while. And you don't know the road that it took. So some of these questions could be super triggering and traumatizing to a person. Let's say they've had losses, asking specific questions about the pregnancy and the baby could be triggering. So I think it is a little bit of a touch and go, be weary situation. Like I said before, I think it is person led.
Absolutely.
If the person's oh yeah, I'm pregnant, I'm 20 weeks, if they're a little bit more forthcoming with information,
keep going, roll with it. Yeah.
Because I love asking people personal questions.
Yeah.
And I will say there are some people who have asked me personal questions that have really offended me, so I've tried to rein back my own. I've been checked a few times, and I think pregnancy is one of those things that makes people want to ask you really personal questions about yourself.
Agreed.
And I think if that door is open, I do the same thing. As soon as one of my friends is telling me about her pregnancy, I'm like, oh, what are you having? Do you have any names? And those may be questions that seem and I've been checked a few times where people are we're actually not sharing.
Yep.
And it's oh, great. And that is still, I think, even with you, when you were pregnant, we didn't know what you were having, but I asked you, oh, what kind of names? And you're oh, we're actually not sharing. And
yes,
it wasn't an awkward moment between us. And it was just kind of oh, okay, great. So I still got to scratch my itch of ooh, I'm super nosy and let's see what she's going to tell me. And then you had your boundary.
Absolutely.
And so I don't think there's ever a situation where you're going to regret it. Like, the worst that's going to happen is that person's just going to show their boundary, and you're going to be like, okay, great.
And that's the thing is it's their boundary. So, like, what one person may ask you, you may answer, and I may not. And so that's, again, I love that you say, let it be pregnant person led. Let it be led by that person. And two, be ready to be checked a little.
Yeah.
If you ask a question and it's too close or it's too comfortable, that person may not want to answer, and just continue on with your day.
Yeah.
There's no, and why should they have to answer you? Like, the affirmative. Don't get offended. Don't be a little bitch about it, all right? Just move on with your day and go about and know that person didn't want to be asked, like, what color their nipple was, which is one question I get asked when I was pregnant. To try to determine the sex, though.
Oh.
Crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's just, it's all, and that's kind of like to wrap up the point of the segment, our first segment ever of Please Stop is kind of just, and this is what these are all going to be. It's going to be very specific and very personal to us and what we've experienced.
Yeah, we hope you want to listen to exactly what we went through, because that is what we're going to hear. And hopefully some of it resonates with you.
I think it's specific but relatable.
Yeah, I get that.
So, at the end of the day, here's your safe bet. If you call a pregnant person a goddess, you're winning.
You're going to win. 100%.
Life hack.
If you look at a pregnant person and go, how are you today? You've done it.
Oh.
Pat yourself on the back. You did a good deed. You asked a pregnant person how they were doing, and they were like, let me tell you. Or they looked at you and went, fine, through gritted teeth, and you're like, oh, that's
enough. Close the door.
Yeah, the door is shut.
Tilt your hat. Walk away.
Walk away from that. Good day to you. And that's all you do. Also open the door for them, pull out a chair, whatever you have to do, but then see yourself out of whatever situation that is. Don't proceed forward. Social cues. Read the social cues.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Just kind of a little bit about like what we personally went through, describing our pregnancies, and then just kind of wrapping up with like things we loved that maybe other people will, and maybe they won't, and that's okay.
And we would love to hear about your pregnancies.
Yes.
We would love to hear your please stops. What did the peoples do to you? Did they rub you like a Buddha and you said, no, I don't like that? Did they not rub you like a Buddha and you said, I feel robbed of this experience of getting my belly rubbed?
If you've heard of any like fun gender predicting wives' tales, write us and tell us.
Tell us.
You can do that at connect@momsinthewild.com.
Tell us your things.
That's our email. We'll write you back. We'll talk about it on the pod.
Yeah.
If you're with your permission. It could
of
be
course.
kind of fun.
It'll be great. It'll be great. We'll love it.
But that's it for this one.
That's it.
Yeah. So to close, it's a jungle out there, folks. Stay safe.
Stay safe in the wilds. We love you.
We'll see you next time.